Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram,
Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram,
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai
Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hariom, everybody.
Hariom, Swamiji.
Hariom.
Hariom, Swamiji. Question session.
Yes.
Chapter number 11, Tirupati, first sentence of the last paragraph, Swamiji. Poor friend, Ram was slowly testing him, all for his own and good alone சொல்றார். அது வந்து சாதாரண சென்டென்ஸ் மாதிரி தெரியல சுவாமி. எல்லாருமே சேர்ந்து சொல்ற மாதிரி உனக்கு மாத்திரம் பண்ணா சொல்றேன், சாதுக்கு மாத்திரம் பண்ணா சொல்றேன், எல்லாரையும் டெஸ்ட் பண்றாரு அப்படி சொல்ற மாதிரி தோணுது அந்த சென்டென்ஸ் சுவாமி. திருப்பதி சாப்டர் 11 first sentence of the last paragraph. Poor friend, Ram was solely testing him all for his good and good alone. அப்படி சொல்றாரே பாப்பா.
First line le
first sentence of the last paragraph.
First sentence on early morning at about 4 a.m.
That last paragraph is the first sentence, Swamiji.
Last.
Poor friend, Ram was solely testing him.
Page number 36, last paragraph, Swamiji. Poor friend, 36 page number.
Page number. You say, what is the beginning of the paragraph?
Poor friend.
Poor friend. Ram was only testing him all for his good and good alone. இந்த சென்டென்ஸ் வந்து சாதுக்கு மாத்திரம் சொல்ற மாதிரி பாப்பா திரும்பி படிக்கும் போது எல்லாருக்குமா சொல்றாரு.
Ram was only testing him.
Yes, Swamiji.
All for his good and good alone.
Yes, Swamiji. அது நமக்கு எல்லாரும் சொல்ற மாதிரி தோணும் சுவாமி. ஒரு ஆளுக்கு அந்த சாதுவை பற்றி மாத்திரம் வேலை எல்லாருக்கும் நாம் டெஸ்ட் பண்ணி இருக்கான்னு சொல்ற மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் அது படிக்கும் போது.
Naturally. Receiving no reply from Ramdas, who was then engaged in meditation of Ram, the Sadhu Ram laid himself down, twisted himself into the shape of 8, at the same time covering his body with a thin cloth. Sleep is quite out of question. Again he said, poor friend, Ram was only testing him, all for his good and good alone. To be very frank, how do we know that he is testing us? Unless we try to remember him. Otherwise, we will just take it, label it as an incident. A negative incident or an adverse incident or situation. So the first struggle is, if we know that it is the test given by him, we should remember him, no? In Papa's case, he was always trying to bring in the dimension that he is testing him because he was conscious. He was always conscious of it. Otherwise, we will treat it only as a vyavaharik, what do you call it?
Accidental incident.
We also know it's a test, but it is not given by him. But it is a test. It is a really a stressful period through which we are passing. We will try to blame others.
Yes.
We will blame the situation. We will try to blame something other than that.
Yes.
So even to know that he is testing us, we need his remembrance. So during our off time, if we somehow try to bring in this dimension, even be the period ever so small, we will slowly try to educate our mind, to habituate our mind with God dimension. Then we will know he is testing us. Then we will be able to keep up the same equipoise. The Sadhuram was also a Vairagi, no?
Yes.
He has no other interest. He has no other vested interest, no other personal interest. And what he said was exactly, it was very chill, and the mosquitoes were biting him. These are not something subnormal or abnormal. It is normal.
Happening everywhere.
But in his case, he was not bringing the God dimension, so he felt like all of us. But he is also a person who is evolved from our level, who has been able to get over the cravings, possessions, attachment, everything. Even to such a person, if the God remembrance is not there throughout, he is also fired by or inspired by God only to take up this path. But there the difference is he was not able to maintain a continuous remembrance of God. That is why he felt
Right.
He was not able to get himself freed from the body level.
Right.
So which is very natural for everyone. Through certain spiritual exercise and spiritual this thing. We all know that we will get affected.
Yeah.
So the message Papa gives us is, if you want to if you want to know that he is testing you, first you must remember him. Then only you know that
Swamiji, we have to make the mind still by doing regular sadhana and following Guru's advice in action. Only by stilling the mind, the feeling of me and mine and otherness will vanish or go. Is it so, Swamiji? Explain.
Nothing here to explain,
No, mind becomes
we have to do this. The thing is, the stage has come where we have to be on the process, and the process will give us the meaning.
The stillness is gone. Stillness பண்றது is
you try in your own way.
No, what is told.
Why do you want to bring a concept in your mind? What will happen to me when I do that? When
Not
you are
for
actually doing it.
For me, what they advise and
this is how we unknowingly postpone our processing. We are on the process. We should know we are on the process, and the process will bring us the needed turnout. The me and mine, whether it is going or not, we should know for ourselves. It will be reflected in our thoughts, words, and deeds. When we do sadhana, we should be evaluating ourselves whether the me and mine is slowly reducing its grip on us. It may lose, again it may come back, it may lose, again it may come back. So we watch the whole thing, and then proportionate to the need, we intensify. We have to keep on doing it. Let us not fail.
The stillness, when the stillness comes, I think that what will be the result? You
see for yourself.
Thank you so much.
ജാൻസിയിൽ വെച്ചിട്ടെ ജാൻസിയിൽ വെച്ച് കുറച്ച് ഫ്രണ്ട്സുമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നു. റിലിജിയൻ മാറ്റേഴ്സ് ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അവിടെ വെച്ചിട്ടെ സാധാരണ ഹു ആം ഐ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുന്നതിന് പകരം ഹു ആർ യു എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ചോദ്യമുണ്ട്. ഹു ആർ യു? ചാപ്റ്റർ 23 ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഫസ്റ്റ് 23 സ്വാമിജി. God never punishes എന്നുള്ള God never punishes.
God never punishes.
അവിടെ ഹിസ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കുറച്ച് ഒരു പേജ് കഴിഞ്ഞ സ്ഥലം 2 പേജ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഹിസ് ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ വാസ് എന്ന് തുടങ്ങുന്നു. അവിടെ ആ ചോദ്യത്തിൽ ഒരു ട്വിസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ പപ്പയുടെ ആൻസറിലും ഒരു ട്വിസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. അതൊന്ന് ഹു ആം ഐ എന്നല്ലേ ചോദിക്കുന്നത്. അവിടെ അതല്ല, ഹു ആർ യു. അപ്പൊ അവിടെ സാധാരണ രാമനാണെന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന് പകരം പപ്പ പറയുന്നു രാമദാസ് ആണെന്ന് പറയും. സാധാരണയിൽ നിന്ന് വ്യത്യസ്തമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു വ്യൂ ആണ് അവിടെ പറയുന്നത്. അതൊരു നമ്മളൊരു ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ട പോയിന്റ് ആണെന്നാ തോന്നുന്നു. അവിടുന്ന് അങ്ങോട്ട് താഴോട്ട് വരെ വായിക്കണം. ടു സേ ദാറ്റ് ഹി ഈസ് ഗോഡ് വരെ വായിക്കണം.
First question why this is again what happened?
Kindly others mute their audio, then only it is possible. Please.
Pardon?
Others have to mute their audio. So many are keeping the audio on, except the person asking the question. Please mute.
Please mute. Otherwise, there will be repetition of whatever we say. Mute. Will they be able to hear?
Now it is clear,
Yes, Swamiji.
Swamiji. Now it is clear.
His first question was, who are you? I am Ramdas, was his simple reply. No, you speak a lie here. You are Ram himself, retorted the friend. When you declare you are Ramdas, you do not know what you say. God is everywhere and everything. He is in you, and so you are. Confess it right away. True, dear friend, God is everywhere, replied Ramdas, but at the same time it must be noted that God is one, and when He is in you and everywhere around you, may I humbly ask you to whom you are putting this question? After reflecting for a time, the friend was driven to say, well, I have put the question to myself. The reply was given in a desperate attempt to reconcile his first contention. If he would say that the question was put to Ramdas, there was a clear sense of duality accepted by the disputant himself, I and you. As a matter of fact, put in Ramdas, Ramdas does not speak. The moment he speaks, he is not Ram. Speech creates always a sense of duality. The speaker and the non-speaking man spoken. Ram is one and indivisible. It's sheer ignorance for a man whose ego is a great obstruction for his complete realization of the oneness of God to say that he is God. The friend persisted for some time more to uphold his argument and eventually gave it up. Now the question comes, for the first time in Inquest of God, Papa is saying, I have come. Why did he say that? The question was, who are you? The answer can be in a roundabout way, no? To answer that, how do we answer? Who are you? The person whom you are addressing is Ramdas. You should say that, no? But instead of that, easy way to convince him, to make him know, is that I am Ramdas. Otherwise, you have to do a roundabout business. The question was asked to the first person, so the answer he gave from the level of first person, that's all. We don't feel anything else is there. Then again he says, you speak a lie there. You are Ram himself. When you declare you are Ramdas, you do not know what to say. God is everywhere and everything. He is in you and so you are He. Confess it. True, dear friend, God is everywhere. But at the same time, it must be noted that God is one. And when He is in you and everywhere around you, may I humbly ask you to whom you are putting this question. There also, if he says Ramdas, confusion will still be there in the mind of the other person. So, in order to make it easy for the person to get himself cleared of the assumption he had, Papa was prompted to use the word I. That's what we feel at the time of now reading. We have not applied our mind so far on this. But now that it has been pointed out, we just feel that it could be only to reduce further complications. Suppose he puts it in the third person, clarity will not come to the questioner. Because we are just watching. How will we answer this when this is put? So that means, it also means that when he was addressing, when he was making a reference about himself, Ramdas, that I is still there, in a purified form. It is not that the I is not there. The I is there in the purified form. On the rarest occasion. If you go through the poems, you will find in many poems, he will use this word I. in his musings, or yes, we will read out one poem. I find him everywhere. You remember? I find him everywhere. I find my God in fields, hills and dales. I see him in the sky above, earth below. I behold him awake, asleep, dreaming. In birth, in life and in death, I find him at all times. But this eye is a purified eye, The purified eye. As we said, till we drop the body, that eye will be there. The sense of individuality. But it's a pure sense of individuality with no, what do you call, appendage. In our case, the eye has got a fixed history. So when we say I, the history comes before us. But in his case, when he says I, the history does not come to him. He was able to raise himself to a higher level. But it is there, the I is there. There are many poems, not only one or two, many poems where he used to say, and not only in poems, even in articles. Articles, it is there. I will try to read one article. He says in one of the articles, the life that thrills in me, vibrates all through the universe. I am the still all-pervading spirit. Yet I move in waves of delight and ride on their chest at the same time. God is a cosmic presence, and that is myself. I am conscious that I am everything. Still strangely, I am a calm, detached witness, unaffected, ever-glowing truth. As God is in all, He is love. Love is the light of the oneness of all life. I try to know what is love, and I am lost and become that love itself. I cannot speak about anything or anybody without feeling I am all that. Rain falls, I am in its very drop. I am permeating the cool breeze. Oh, what and where I am not. I and you are false. There is only one truth, that is God. I am bewitched by seeing my beauty everywhere. My eye is He, the one God. When I write, it is He who writes. There is no end to my ecstasies. I am ecstasy, O words. How you delude me. Words are He. Delusions is He. When I write, it is He who writes. I and you are false. There is only one truth, that is God. My I is He. It may be difficult for us to understand, but I and you, I wish to know God. I rose above all petty ratiocinations. I went beyond the range of so-called rational thinking. I stopped the gymnastics of the relative and erring talk and argument. God is self-existent. I gained awareness of Him by stilling thought, by which God within me unveiled. I knew I am He. My heart was aflame with aspiration, resulting in the disappearance of all thoughts and in finding the ego to be false. The name of God enabled me to achieve this end. The name of God enabled me to achieve this end. I trusted the name. I realized I am He. What does this mean? That means the I is still there in a purified form. That means, not in the way in which we all used to refer ourselves as I. That is why he replied that when to whom are you talking now? The duality is there when we talk. Duality will come there. Duality is also his way. We need not think that just because Papa used the third person, the expression I cannot go along with it. On rare occasions in these books, he has mentioned, but in poems and in articles, he has used this on a higher level. Probably to make us know what is a kacha ego and what is a pakka ego. To convey, so long as we exist as an individual, to convey something, we might use the word I. Mataji used the word I. Gandhiji used the word I. So it is nothing wrong. So the I is also there, but we now, probably by raising this question, Papa makes us to probably get it clarified that under no circumstances let us be under the illusion that the third person, addressing everybody as a third person is the mark of a evolved soul. No. That was how God prompted him to do it. On very rare occasions only he made him to say I. Otherwise, by and large, it is a third person. It is something like, Ramdas and Ram. But later on we find that addressing himself as Ramdas became so sahaj in him. And even in the last page, what do you call this?
In the cave.
In the cave, yeah. You will find this I coming. Don't you think so? Go to the last. He uses Ramdas. He uses second, no? At first. Oh Ram, you are free, nothing binds you, you are free. Ramdas, you are free, nothing binds you. Childlike nature. Oh Ram, thy slave Ramdas is thine. Here the first person is not coming. Okay. Where he says that. Oh Ramdas, you are one.
Swamiji, there is a poem called Ram. O Ram, I see thy form on every side. In all the worlds thy light and glory abide.
O Ram, I take refuge in thee. In poems it is mentioned.
Yes.
Even in the Inquest of God, if you go to the last page, sole refuge, for example. O Ram, I take refuge in thee, thou art my life, my love, my will indeed. I am in thee, thou art in me, thou art my father, mother indeed. Thou art the life that pervades all. In thee all things and lives are aside. Thou art the life, the light divine, my only dream. To serve thee is my pleasing Lord. Thou art my wealth, my name, my fame. O Ram, charming is the sound. It is there. And Ram, O Ram, I see thy form on every side. So it is there. So we have to take it now that the I is still there, and the I is there in that I is the purified I. To refer individuals to individuals. He mentions I. But when we refer I, it is different. Somebody has not muted.
Swamiji, Hariom.
Hariom.
Swamiji, in this chapter there is a lot to be taught by you to us. Ram does not speak.
Ram does not speak.
அதை எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுங்களேன்.
Ram does not. ஒரு கான்டெக்ட்ல சொல்றதாகும் அது.
இல்ல Swamiji, if you don't speak, okay, how am I going to understand? It has to be spoken, then only it will be. I mean, if I am of that high level, if you don't speak, I may understand. But I am not. So you have to speak, isn't it?
Okay. Let me see. Let me try to go and read again.
Last para, Swamiji. 85 page.
There is no page number.
85.
Ranji.
Oh.
I have no page number.
Swamiji, the same page where you are reading.
I am not taking the book.
The same book, the same page you were reading.
23.
The same one which you are 23. Who are you? He asked. I'm Ramdas. At the end, he says, Papa says, Ram does not speak.
Let me read.
Speech creates a sense of duality.
Please.
As a matter of fact. Para. Starting.
23 alle.
Yes, Swamiji.
So he says, who are you? I am Ramdas. Now you speak a lie there. You are Ram himself when you declare you are Ramdas. Dear friend, God is everywhere. But at the same time, it must be noted that God is one. And when He is in you and everywhere around you, may I humbly ask to whom you are putting this question? After reflecting for a time, the friend replied, well, I have put the question to myself. The reply was given as a desperate attempt to reconcile his first contention. If he would say that the question was put to Ramdas, there was a clear sense of duality accepted by the disputant himself, I and you. As a matter of fact, put in Ramdas, Ram does not speak. The moment he speaks, he is not Ram. Speech creates always a sense of duality. The speaker and the man spoken to. Ram is one and indivisible. It is sheer ignorance for a man whose ego is a great obstruction for his complete realization to say that he is God. The friend persisted. No, the moment he speaks, he is not Ram. Ram is the mysterious power, no? The mysterious power, when it is connected to the various equipments, it expresses itself. Though we can say that the electricity is expressing through the bulb is not, the light is not electricity in one way. So when you say the electric power, which is there, it's a power. The moment it expresses itself in some form, it cannot be called a power. No, it is palpable. It can be seen. It can be. So here he says the base for everything, the static aspect. You can take it as the static aspect. Static aspect cannot come in the form of the dynamic aspect according to him in this particular moment. But static and dynamic are both his only, no? The electricity as well as light. We don't differentiate the light from the electricity. Though technically we can say that electricity is not light. Similarly, the mysterious power is not the manifestation. But the mysterious power becomes visible only through the manifestation. So in order to understand probably the static and dynamic aspect, Papa would have used this. Because there is a duality there, When it comes to the dynamic aspect, there is a duality. That is why day firstly we were telling, if we go deeply through all these, we will be able to rationalize and give an opinion or a view. But in what way it is going to help us in our sadhana? Just imagine. We are trying to find out the mysterious power that is behind this speech. In what way it is going to help us? So let us try to put our entire efforts on finding in quest of God. He made us to do an in-depth study, no doubt. So from this, with that angle, we try to understand that the dynamic aspect need not be confused with the static aspect. The static aspect becomes cognizant only through a dynamic aspect. Agreed. But static is static and dynamic is dynamic. Static, we become aware only through the dynamic. But static and dynamic are different, Just like the electricity and the light, electricity and the coolness, electricity and the some other thing, In whatever way when we put the grinder, when we put the mixie, when we put so many things, the gadgets, the varied expressions, it comes. So if we say, we should know, at least for Vyavaharic dealing, from the dynamic level, we should know that there is a static principle behind it. So we feel that Papa was trying to make the other person understand that there is dynamic and static, and at the static level, there is no speech. Just like there is no creation. Who is there to tell there is a creation? The base, the stillness. Suppose when we go to the stillness, what happens? We cannot say anything. So we are basically, intrinsically, essentially that. In this particular instance, because the other person was under the delusion that this intellectual discussion will make one realize God, probably to dispel that delusion in him, Papa must have used this word. Who are you? I am Ramdas. Because person, he is addressing to a person. Now you speak a lie. You are Ram himself. Again somebody has to please. Otherwise it will again come back.
Clear, Samji. Very clear.
Now you speak a lie there. You are Ram himself. When you declare you are Ramdas, you do not know what you say. God is everywhere and in everything. He is in you and so are you. Confess it right away. So this is purely at the intellectual level. What he says is right, but it is not coming out of his experience. If he has got that experience, he will not put this question. We have understood so many things from Shastras and Mahatmas, and we have our intellect can bring all these things, but it has nothing to do with the experience. If it has come out of experience, he will not raise this question. So in order to dispel the delusion in him, the spirituality is not something of an intellectual, academic knowledge, but it should become experiential, and at the experiential level, this question will never come. Because you see everywhere he only, then you will not ask, who are you?
Swamiji, this question I had mailed you 1 year before, and you had given me this answer, the same answer that you gave me now. The question was asked in a theoretical way. What Papa said, that true God is everywhere. That paragraph you said is a practical answer. So, Yes, that's what you said. Right now, whatever you said, the same thing you told.
No, you just keep on thinking about it. These are all facts, agreed. So if we remain at the intellectual level, if we keep on churning the water, we will not get anything. Instead of churning the buttermilk, if we churn on the water, we will not get anything. So we will get only an intellectual answer. So this particular portion, Papa has mentioned only that many of us are likely to slip into this. So we should be careful. We should be careful that our efforts our focus should be on the experience, on the process and the experience thereon. So these are all the things
Swamiji, in the same page, further ahead, it says as if he was to uphold his argument. So sometimes people persist an empty argument. Is that so?
Could be. The friend persists for some time more to uphold his argument, eventually gave it up. So it happened. We have seen many. Now I remember one incident that had taken place in Chennai. There was a group. We were associating with that group. One day when we went there, what were they discussing? Normally, we were told that there are 10 avatars. So somebody was quoting, Matsya Kurma Varahasya, Vamano Narasimhaja, Ramo Ramasya Krishnascha, Buddha Kalkita Devaja. So another person said, no. Ramo Ramascha, Ramo Buddhascha, Krishnasya, Buddha Kalkita Devaja. So the second Ram, according to one school of thought, it was Parashuram, Balram, Ramo Ramasya Krishnasya. Then another said Buddha. So then they were arguing. We were just, each one was quoting so many. At the end, somebody was kind enough to raise this point. In what way will this help us in our spiritual progress? We may be able to analyze. We may be able to bring so many things at the intellectual level. So, but as a spiritual aspirant, our concentration is on how to make us aware of His presence. Because the first person was not aware of His presence, his mind started bringing so many things collected from his reading, Swadhyaya, Satsang, hearing. He has collected all these ideas that God is all pervading. So, and he thought that he should not, when he asked somebody, they must say, I am God. So, in order to clear that, probably Papa must have thought it wise to bring out the dialogue in this book. We should be very, very careful. That theoretical knowledge and experiential revelation is both are different. That is why after a certain time, this intellect becomes a hindrance. Initially it will help us, but later on it becomes a hindrance. Now we will slowly try to shift ourselves. We may get stuck. Papa is testing us. We may get stuck. Our interest is now only because at the
Swamiji, Swamiji, it's like cycling now. You are telling now cycling. Like riding a cycle. There is no use in theoretically thinking.
Correct. Theoretically knowing more about riding the cycle, how to sit, how to pedal, everything will not help us unless we do the pedaling by ourselves. And we will leave all these things. This will happen. Papa has mentioned about it because when we read too much, when we hear too much, all these things are likely to happen. So now, then Papa wants us to correct. Okay, it is alright, that has helped you up to this section, but not beyond this. Just like we used to say, When
We
Papa
can
says,
never understand God, no, Swamiji.
eh?
We
What?
can never understand God, no, Swamiji.
We
We can never understand, no, God.
we can never understand God from our present level. Because there is a veil of ignorance. The curtain will not allow us to understand Him. Our understanding is to go beyond the individual level. That is why Papa says, when you chant God's name, you add this. I am chanting the name of one who is seated within me, and I am chanting because He is making me to chant. And you just start going through that word. Then where does the I come? I am chanting the name of one who is seated within me, and I am chanting because He makes me to chant.
Swamiji is frozen, it's not responding now.
Hari Om Swamiji, pranams.
Now, whether to understand Him or not, because the understanding has already taken place. That is why we have been told that you be on the process. The process will give the answer. At this level, at the sense of individual level, with all its limitations, with all its baggage, it will be difficult to understand. That is why he introduced this Nama with this background.
Swamiji, in the same page, the same thing, after the argument, there is a movement by a Shuddhi movement by Swami Shraddhananda ji, and he is upholding his own argument. And Papa says, however, Ramdas was cool and collected by the grace of Ram. So by the grace of Ram,
Ramdas was cool and collected by the grace of Ram.
So that
So the sense of individuality is there. No, why should we assume that the sense of individuality is not there? Sense of individuality in its purest form, it is there. Just like a child has a sense of individuality, but in terms of rights and wrongs, likes and dislikes and all those things, planning, execution, ambition, cravings, if you take it from that level, we can somehow understand whether the sense of individuality we have and the sense of individuality the child has is the same. Similarly here, the sense of individuality remains. As long as his body is there, the sense of individuality will be there, it can't be erased. In many of the documents he has signed, Papa has signed many documents. Later on only Anandashram Trust came into being. So till early 50s, if we go through the earlier documents, he will say, Swami Ramdas, son of Balakrishna Rao. What does it mean? Because the statute requires the person's identification through his father's name. So even today when we have to write something, we have to write son of so and so. So that means the sense of individuality continues. Only its quality is changed. So he was cool and calm by Ram. So Ram's grace is always there. Let us not think that the sense of individuality has disappeared from him. Then this question.
No, Swamiji, I did not mean like that. I wanted to tell that he was aware that even this cool and collected is by Ram's grace. He was aware about that. That's what I.
So when he says Ramdas sense of individuality, the merging has not taken place, but it is purified. Ramdas was cool and collected by the grace of Ram. Ramdas as an individual, the mysterious power Ram, by the grace of Ram.
Also, afterwards, with the argument, even then, Papa assures him that he loved him very dearly in spite of the objectionable words used by him.
And next day we found, his throat was choked up, his condition was pitiable. Next day at the same time the friend, "Oh Maharaj, he claiming, praying, God has punished your slave for having used rough words yesterday. Oh friend Ramdas is really sorry to hear this. Be assured God never punishes." And then pulling Ramdas, he said, "You behold Maharaj, how powerful you are. You make a mistake, dear friend. Ramdas is a poor slave. Your faith alone has cured you and nothing else." From this time onward, the friend became very much attached to him and was very kind. The ways are so wonderful that Ramdas gets utterly bewildered at times. The sense of individuality, though pure, remains as an individual sense of individuality. So he is bewildered at times. He doesn't know how this is happening. So it is very, very clear. In quest of God, It is in quest of God. So he is on his way. But the plus point is that he started with purity. Purity of probably not 100% of his level. He wouldn't have named it as 100%. To us it is 100%. So ours is now to reach that stage without getting ourselves enslaved by the influence of our intellect. The more we think about it, this is how it comes up. Probably we may get some more dimension later. But at this moment we feel that this chapter, the contents of this chapter is to make us aware. Number one. Number one is the sense of individuality continues to remain. But due to austerities and sadhana, it becomes purified. That means the me and mine is not there. Relationship and the possession is not there. The total merger takes place later. So the first and important prerequisite is to remove from him the me and mine. That is not here. That is why even when he abused, he did not. He was able to take it calmly, coolly. If the me and mine was there, definitely he would have lost his temper, used bad words. But that is not there. Again, we go through it. And then we find that who are you? I am Ramdas. And from there we started this. And in this whole chapter, this is being now brought out in different forms by Papa. Finally, he makes us to understand that there are two aspects, static and dynamic. Static is static and dynamic is dynamic. That is why they are called static and dynamic. Though the static is expressed through dynamic, though the dynamic needs the base of the static, they are two and they are one. In one form, they are one. In one level, they are one, but in one level, they are two. So that also we should understand. And a sadhaka, when he is on the spiritual path, it becomes slowly purified, getting ourselves freed from me and mine, but still maintain a sense of individuality, which is called the purified sense of individuality. So these are all some things, which comes up. Now again we are back there.
Hari Om Swamiji. I feel in that only answer is given by Papa. Two places. He says our own doubts are our enemies and create a lot of mischief. The so-called evil is our own making. So that means the doubter, as you just now said, static and dynamic. So the dynamic mind is always going on doubting and having so much of rational thinking. And the next second after that second paragraph, the last line he says, your faith alone has cured you and nothing else. So that means two statements are perfectly given by Papa. Our own doubts means this is the most biggest problem we have always. Then we go on think that God is separate, I am separate. So that is the doubt. And he says, your faith alone has cured you and nothing else. So if that faith is there, even this doubt of I, me and mine individuality is gone if faith is there.
And this
That itself will.
one more thing, the dynamic, when it forgets its base called the static, then the confusion comes. The happy marriage of the static and dynamic is called the spiritual, summit. In the spiritual summit, the Bhakta and Bhagavan, though realizing as one, Bhakta continues to remain as a Bhakta. But if the Bhakta is not aware of the Bhagavan, he continues to remain as an individual. So here what happened was, the person, though he is also a manifestation of Ram, the dynamic aspect of it, he forgot his static aspect. Because at the static aspect, when there is a harmonious blend of these two, then only the dynamic aspect will remember everything as part of the, or it owes its origin, or it owes its very existence to the static. It is true that the dynamic aspect raised this question, but dynamic aspect raised this question because it became unaware of the static aspect. Kindly think about it.
Yes, Swami. Yes, Swami.
We are on our way to connect up these two.
Yes.
We are in the dynamic state, no doubt, but we don't bring in the static state as our base. So through chanting or through our spiritual exercise, we are trying to get a glimpse of that static aspect, and then the marriage takes place. And when we come out of it, we don't say I, because we say we, because the sense of individuality plus the static aspect. Static aspect and the dynamic aspect. So I think when this is raised, probably Papa wants to make us very clear about it. Static and dynamic bring out the whole cosmos, including you and me. We should know that it's a marriage of both. Electricity and the bulb gives, when it is on, the light. Without the bulb, we will not know about the electricity. Without the electricity, the bulb cannot give the light. So there should be a harmonious marriage between them. So similarly, we become alive only because of the static. We become what we are only because of the static. But we have forgotten this. We are trying to realize this. After realizing this, let us not think that this dynamic will not be there. When we go through Ramnam, through meditative chanting, through mental chanting, when you try to touch this stillness in us, which is the core of our being, that will give us the experience, something of the experience of the static behind us. And again we come back to the dynamic aspect. And then again we touch. We keep on doing this, and then finally get ourselves stabilized. That we exist because of Him. We become subservient to Him, retaining our sense of individuality till it is ordained by the Almighty to drop it.
Same thing, Swami, in Lalita Sahasranam, Chaktis Chetana Rupa, Jad Chakti Jadatmika. So even if I am speaking, means that is changing into dynamic. If I am resting, nothing else is coming, it's in static, no change. So both of them are, as you said just now, dynamic and static is there here right now. I am able to speak because of that Shakti. Without that power, as you just know, without which I can't speak, I can't see, I can't talk. Every second, the God's experience is there. Every moment. Without which nothing is there.
That is why Papa used to say, even in Bhagavad Gita, everything is in me.
After I had so
Swamiji.
many points.
Swamiji.
Jayachandran,
Yes, Swamiji.
Is it somewhat clear?
I am here, Swamiji.
Okay.
Swamiji. Yeah, in this, as a matter of fact, put in Ramdas. Ram does not speak. The moment he speaks, he is not Ram. Speech creates always a sense of duality, the speaker and the man spoken to. Ram is one and indivisible. It is sheer ignorance for a man whose ego is great obstruction for his complete realization of the oneness of God. To say that he is God. This itself has a great explanation, I feel, Swamiji.
Right.
So there is no sense, that means if I am speaking, he himself from which, the same source from which the sound is coming out. The same Ram he is speaking. I cannot speak myself. I cannot even shake my hand or turn my head. So if I feel that he is separate from me, what I feel is that I am like a mad person. I would say I am awake. So that sense of individuality is coming. So Ram himself won't speak. This is what Papa is meant, what I feel.
Yes.
Anyhow, this in-depth study is making us to understand what is static, what is dynamic. How does the static expresses through dynamic? How does the static, how does the dynamic, forgetting its own source, assumes the sense of doing, sense of asking, sense of agency? All those things have been brought out beautifully in this particular chapter. Very good, we will do some more plumbing deep into it. But at the same time, let us all be very clear that our job is to somehow make us aware of the static element in us. Okay, the core of work. That is our mission. So that is why even Mataji, in one of our sixth Mataji's this thing is there, Mahasamadhi.
Seventh.
We have, but Mataji says in one of our talks that also throws ample light on this. It is not enough if you repeat Ram Nam. You must accompany it with intense meditation on the glories of beloved Papa. You should all the time be telling your mind, Papa, you are infinite, Papa, you are all-pervading, you are everything beyond everything. Otherwise, all the Ram Nam you do will be superficial only, just on the surface. If your mind dwells on the divine attributes of beloved Papa, it will lend strength and power to your Ram Nam and help you to see Papa in everyone around you. So like that, they also try to give us. Otherwise, we get stuck up. We are so conscious of this body of ours. Mataji says, we are so conscious of this body of ours, from the hair on the head to the nail on the toe. The whole body binds us. Remember, set yourself free with Ram Nam and Guru Dhyan. Then slowly the feeling of eye and mind will become thinner and thinner. Papa will bring this about, even when you are in your own house. This is the great, this is the great assurance, She says, we are so conscious of this body of ours, from the hair on the head to the nail on the toe. The whole body binds us. So set yourself free with Ram Nam and Guru Dhyan, free from this sense of individuality. Then slowly the feeling of eye and mind will become thinner and thinner. Papa will bring this about, even when you are in your own house. So let us carry this message, This I and me and mine is so powerful, it will immediately catch. Wherever there is a mention of I, it will go and catch. So we need Mahatma's teachings on to us. Hey, look here, you are bound by it, agreed, but there is some power behind this. So we are here to set ourselves free from that. So let us be very clear. The whole exercise should, through this whole exercise, we should be very clear about it. Hari Om.
Yes, ma'am. Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Very wonderful. Pranam, Swamiji.
Pranam.
Namaskaram, Swamiji.
We will meet tomorrow. Hariyo.
Hariyo.
Hariyo. Hariyo.